Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me. I'm here on what is my first night session of the year, now that we're allowed back out to do nights. But this video isn't going to be focusing on fishing as such, because between my last video and now, I was asked to join the Vortex Carp Team and become a tester for them. In celebration of that, I wanted to make a video going through the baits that I'll be using, at least over the next few sessions, but they're the baits that I have a lot of confidence in. I mean, all of Vortex baits are great quality, well made, but these are just the ones I use. So I'll be going through two different lots of bait that I use and how I go about making them up. But a little bit about Vortex Baits is the bloke who runs it is a great bloke. He's got over 40 years experience in the bait industry, so he really knows what he's on about. And if you want to learn a little bit more about that, you can visit vortexbaits.co.uk. He has a little article on there about how he got into it and his history and experience with bait making, which is quite interesting. So to jump straight into it, I'm going to talk about my boilie mix first of all, and of course at the base of that are the boilies. So in my mix I'm using 3 different types of boilie, or different flavours. First of all, you've got THC, which is tiger nut, hemp and cinnamon. The second flavour is banana, pineapple and cinnamon. And then a new one that I'm starting to use now, and I've seen good results on the Vortex Facebook page, is coconut crunch. So the base of my boilie mix is going to be those 3 flavours of boilie. But I've got a range of different powders and glugs, a whole range of things, attractants to add into the mix, again all sold by Vortex Baits, just to add that little bit of an edge to the mix of boilies. First of all, we've got the glugs. I've got 3 different types of glug with me, only 2 of which were actually used on the boilies, which is the banana, pineapple and cinnamon glug and the tiger nut, hemp and cinnamon. I've also got some hemp oil, but I use that on a different mix, on my pellet mix, so I'll talk about that a little bit later on. And then finally we've got the powders that I brought and the ground baits to mix in to coat the boilies nicely. And what I've got there is I've got coconut crunch ground bait, THC, tiger nut, hemp and cinnamon ground bait, and then I've also got something he gave me to try, which was a mix of hemp products. So I think there's crushed hemp in there, hemp protein, hemp oil, a nice mix of different hemp products. And then a couple of other little attractants that I've got to add in there is betaine powder, which is essentially just a sugar, rock salt, and both of those are things I've never used but I've seen good results on again. And then finally there's betaine in a liquid form. So I started the mix off, of course, by getting all the boilies into a bucket and mixing them up. The different colours as well, I love that mix of boilies. I like to have a few different colours in there and a different flavours, because I do believe that certain carp like different things. They're all fairly similar, although the banana obviously adds a bit of a fruity kick to it, and the rest of them are quite nutty, but I do like to have a range of scents and flavours in there. So I started off with, of course, adding the boilies to the bucket, mixing them up, and then we moved on to the liquids. So like I say, I didn't add any hemp oil to the boilie mix, that was for my pellet mix. But I started with the betaine glug, just a little bit on there. I was told that you can't really overdo it with the betaine, so I got a nice amount on there, glugged it up. Then I went for the THC glug, and then the banana glug, and of course shaking it all up in between, making sure all the boilies, especially at the bottom, are getting nicely covered. The reason I do the glugs first is because the next step would be the powders and ground baits, which of course you want to stick to the outside of the boilie, and the glugs obviously allow it to do that. So I went in with the coconut ground bait and the THC, and you'll see that it gets a nice coating on there. So when those boilies are sat on the bottom and they're soaking in the water, all of that ground bait drops off, and when the carp pick up that boilie or pick up the boilies, it still leaves a little bit of food there for them to, you know, grub around at. Then after those, I added the betaine and the rock salt, and from what I'm told, they're great attractants, and kind of keep the carp wanting more, and keep them coming back. And that's all there is to it, to my boilie mix, really. The past couple of sessions on this lake, I've been using a pellet mix, and it's been getting results. But I do think the bigger fish, and the fish that I'm after, the named fish, the older fish, they do like boilies. So that's why I'm using that approach on this lake now, as well as the pellets, because I know they work. But I've decided to go for a bit more of a boilie approach to hopefully get some of those bigger fish out, and especially some of the known ones that I really want to get stuck into. And then, of course, as I've mentioned, I've also got my pellet mix as well. So a couple of days ago, I poured a bit of that hemp oil that I mentioned on these pellets. I did that a couple of days ago because I really wanted that to soak in. I don't want, in the way that my boilies are obviously glugged for the ground bait to stick to them, I don't really want all the ground bait to stick to the pellets in this sense, or for it to be a wet mix. I wanted that oil to soak in, so I did that a couple of days ago, and it has soaked in nicely. So that was already done. So all I've done today was add some powders to that mix. Again, coconut crunch powder and the THC ground bait. The reason I like to add that to my pellet mix, which of course I use in solid bags or mesh bags, especially 4 solid bags, is just so that you get a nice tighter bag tied up. When you've got a lot of pellets in there, you get a lot of air holes and stuff, so that ground bait kind of just fills that out and makes a more solid bag. So we got those powders in, and then I also added some betaine in there as well, just to give it a bit of a sweet scent, and like I say, keep them coming back, because from what I've heard, that's something that they really like to eat. So as I mentioned, I wanted to make this video in celebration of me joining the Vortex team. I'm really excited. I've used their products for, you know, a couple of years now, and I can't fault them in any way. You know, they don't cut any corners when it comes to quality and things that go into the bait. They're not all about profit, so it's just pure great quality ingredients, and it's a great team of people as well. So really excited for this opportunity, and we'll see what it brings. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.